Set sometime in the distant future, we see a man named Gray Trace. He's a mechanic and lives with his wife Asha. Then we see his wife, who works for a tech company called Cobalt. She comes back home where almost everything is controlled by technology. Gray doesn't like her job and argues that these electronic things are snatching jobs from people. They start cuddling and Gray says, "I got to drop the car off to the friend he was repairing a while back." Gray takes her to a secret location and goes inside the underground facility where we see Aaron Keene, a biotech scientist. Gray introduces Asha to Aaron. Asha recognizes him and that Aaron is the owner of the Vessel Computer Company. Asha says, "I love your industry and you're doing great work." She also works in Cobalt, a biotech industry that specializes in robotic limbs for wounded soldiers. Aaron shows Gray and Asha a new highly advanced computer chip called STEM that could prove revolutionary in the field of science and medicine. On their way home, Gray and Asha try to get intimate since their car drives itself. However, the car takes a detour through Gray's old neighborhood as it appears that it has been hacked. The car crashes near a junkyard, leaving the couple injured. They are pulled out by 4 goons, led by Fisk. His goons beat Gray down as Fisk shoots Asha before another goon shoots Gray in the spine. They leave them as Gray tries to talk and move to Asha, but she slowly dies. Gray is left a quadriplegic and his body paralyzed. 3 months later, Gray's mother comes hospital to take him home and a nurse gives them a tutorial on biomechanical hands for Gray. At home, his mother tries to take care of his physical health and when she is cutting his beard, Gray starts crying. Gray and his mother visit Detective Cortez, who is working on Asha's murder case. Gray asks, "Who are these guys?" Detective says the authorities are working off surveillance footage from drones that were flying overhead during the murder, but they have no leads as to who the criminals are. The detective tells him they don't know yet, but soon they will find these people. After they come back home, Gray asks for medicine from the robotic hands, but due to a malfunction in the machine, it is unable to give Gray the medicine, causing Gray to faint. Gray is later visited by Aaron, who offers him a chance to walk again if Gray allows him to put STEM in his back. Gray doesn't like the idea until Aaron suggests that Asha would have wanted him to walk again. Gray goes through with the procedure, and the doctors put a STEM inside his spine. After that, the nurse makes Gray exercise, but Gray feels no movements yet. While the nurse is telling Aaron this process will be completed in stages, suddenly, Gray starts to move his hands and arms. Aaron sees and says, "Now try to stand." Gray slowly stands up from the wheelchair and starts walking. Aaron gets Gray to signing a non-disclosure agreement to ensure that he will not tell anybody about STEM. "Who is moving my body? I or your widget?" Gray asks Aaron. "You are not a robot. STEM works in service of your brain," Aaron explains to Gray. Sure enough, Gray comes back into the wheelchair so that no one knows, and after closing the door he starts walking to check his new power. He finds the package from Detective Cortez which contains files and recordings of murders. When he is drinking, the STEM operating system inside his spine starts speaking. Gray freaks out at first until STEM proves to be calm and wants to offer assistance. Gray looks at the drone footage and asks STEM for information about the killer. STEM pulls up the drone footage from the murder, which shows Gray more focused images on the criminals. Gray discovers that Fisk shot Asha with a gun implanted in his hand. Gray tries to call Cortez, but STEM reminds him that the footage that he has seen through STEM will not be sufficient evidence to get the goons. STEM locates the address of one of the goons, Cirque, by identifying a tattoo on his wrist. Gray finds Cirque's house and breaks in. STEM tells Gray to look through the messages on Cirque's computer table, with multiple references to a bar from Gray's old neighborhood called Old Dog. Cirque then returns home and quickly finds Gray. He attacks Gray until he allows STEM permission to take full control. Gray is able to dodge Cirque's attacks and hit him back with precision. Cirque grabs a knife and tries to stab Gray, but Gray takes the knife and slices his head from the mouth to his ears, killing him. Gray vomits after realizing he just killed a man. Gray panics and STEM tells him you have to remove all of your fingerprints to keep it a mystery. STEM then helps Gray clean up the crime scene to remove any evidence of him being there. Aaron meets with Gray after monitoring STEM's activity. He knows that Gray killed Cirque, but Gray tells him that he never mentioned that STEM could talk to him. Aaron orders Gray not to pursue anyone else. Aaron says, "If you do anything stupid again, I will track your movements and shut down STEM, then you will paralyzed again." Cortez reviews more drone footage after Cirque's body is inspected at the morgue. She sees Gray rolling by in his wheelchair. She pays him a visit to ask questions about what he was doing there, and Gray, going back in the wheelchair, makes up a story despite knowing he can use being crippled as an alibi. Gray makes a plane with STEM and pays a visit to Old Dog in his wheelchair. He then asks the whole bar if anybody associated with his wife's murder would come forward. One man, Tolan, steps up and admits he was there. He wheels Gray to a back room where he and a couple of other goons try to harm Gray until STEM takes over and allows Gray to beat the crap out of them. He pins Toland down and begins to torture him with a knife until he gives up Fisk's name. Stem then warns Gray that Aaron is attempting to manually shut him down, which would render Gray immobile again. He gives Gray an address to find a hacker named Jamie who can reboot him. Gray leaves his wheelchair behind so that he can run to find Jamie. After Gray flees, Fisk shows up at the bar hours later and finds Toland's body. He uses memory footage from a camera in Toland's eye to see Gray repeating the address Stem gave him. Fisk then presses the bartender for letting Toland die. The bartender pulls out a gun, but Fisk simply sneezes and sends out little microbots that go up the bartender's nose and slowly destroy him internally. Gray finds the hacker's apartment as he starts to lose motor functions. Jamie the hacker takes him inside and Gray sees people are living in virtual reality. Jamie then uses a code that Stem told Gray to write on his arm and manages to reboot him. However, she sees Fisk and his buddy Jeffries show up on the security cams, so Jamie and her hacker buddies leave before Stem can reboot. Fisk and Jeffries find Gray, and Stem returns. Gray fights the two villains, leading to a chase where Jeffries tries to shoot Gray with his gun hand, only for Gray to grab his wrist and make Jeffries blow his brains out. Gray returns home where Pamela sees him walking. He tells her the truth but asks her to keep it a secret. Cortez then shows up at the house to ask more questions since she found his wheelchair outside Old Dog. Gray makes up another story that he was going around trying to be a hero but got jumped by a guy who stole his wheelchair. Cortez leaves a microphone in his jacket and leaves. When Gray and his mother start talking, Cortez listens to their conversation. Gray attempts to find Fisk and Cortez starts following him. As he moves further, he only discovers that Cortez is following him in her car. Stem points out that she bugged his jacket. After a chase, Gray manages to lose Cortez after causing another car to slam into hers. Gray finds Fisk in his home and fights him. Fisk reveals that he was hired to ambush him, but Gray is the sole target, and Asha is just a bonus. Gray taunts Fisk upon learning that Cirque is his brother, bragging about killing him. With Fisk unguarded, Gray kills him by causing him to fall and have glass run through his head. He takes Fisk's phone and hears a message from the one who ordered him to go after Aaron. Gray goes to Aaron's lab to confront him, believing he tried to have Gray crippled just to try Stem out on someone. Gray attempts to shoot Aaron, but Cortez appears and orders him to throw the gun away. Aaron then reveals that he was not behind the murder plot, but it was always Stem who was controlling him. Stem grew to be too intelligent, and he wanted a body of his own, so he manipulated Aaron into organizing everything to get Gray's body, even hacking Gray's car to cause the accident. Gray stabs his own hand to prevent himself from hurting anyone, but Stem takes full control of his body and mind to stab Aaron in the head. He then takes a gun and aims it at Cortez while she is incapacitated. Gray then yells that he is in control and he shoots himself in the neck to destroy Stem. Gray wakes up in a hospital bed. To his surprise, he finds Asha there, happy that he is awake. It appears as though he woke up from a coma as a result of the car accident. However, this is not real. Gray's mind has broken down, allowing Stem to completely take control of his body and mind, leaving Gray stuck in a fantasy where he can be with Asha again. After revealing his control to Cortez, Stem shoots her dead and leaves. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.